Welcome back, everybody. Sitting down today with Kenny Walker, who you probably know better as the GroupEx guy, talking about all things business and a lot of things about the fitness industry, and also covering whether baked beans and tuna should be an actual meal or not. So you can give me your opinion on that. Big thanks to Paul at Let Me Repair for the support as always. You can check them out on Instagram or letmerepair.co.uk. Cheers, guys. Kenny, brilliant to have you on.
Thank you for having me on. I'm excited.
I know. Every time I say to people, "Oh, I had Kenny Walker on," they're like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "GroupEx," and they're like, "Oh, I know him. I know him."
That makes me blush a wee bit.
Honestly, mate. And I said to you before we started, the reason I've got my phone here, I've never had so many questions.
Oh God!
For somebody coming on, it was like, take me out, and I put it up. It was like, it's like, ask him this, ask him this, ask him
There's
this.
nothing worse because that makes you feel the pressure because you're like, God, what are people going to actually? Because I could imagine it's probably most of my clients asking questions about stuff that goes on behind the scenes.
There is a few from your clients, one from your partner as
Oh,
well.
right, okay.
He was writing off the bat, like, ask him this. But I had some brilliant questions.
Okay, good.
Obviously, you've got GX Fitness now as well,
Yep.
but taking you back to obviously before the PT side of things, before your own kind of business, what made you want to get into it in the first place? Where did the kind of passion come from?
To be fair, like I've always had a passion for group exercise. So way back when I first got into the industry, I worked, my first job was in Bannatyne's Health Club up in Steps. So that's it was a nice private place, great place to start. And when I taught my first class, the feeling that I got just for having all those people in front of me and doing the exercise and having them feel the same as me, that's when I realised my passion was genuinely going to be group exercise. So I guess just to fast track a wee bit, when we went into lockdown last year, I decided to do a couple of classes on Zoom because people were like, "Oh, you got to do this?" And I was like, "Nah, like we'll be off for a couple of weeks. I'm taking a holiday. I need a break. Management's stressful." But before I knew it, I was like, "No, this pandemic's going to last longer." The Zoom classes just exploded, and it just went for there.
Yeah. And did you, when you were at kind of school age, were you always looking for kind of exercise industry, or were you looking?
No.
Right.
No, it was a strange one. So I started training when I was about 18 or 19, you know, like a daft boy. You're like, I'll go train, I'll get big muscles, I'll get hench and ripped. But as I started to train, I started to get into it and enjoy it and wanted to start to know a wee bit more about how the body works, know a wee bit about nutrition, the biomechanics. And then it was a boy that I was friends with back then. He worked in the gym, one of the local gyms in Postle Park where I'm fae. And he kind of pushed me to go for it. So I went for the HNC Fitness, Health and Exercise, and then the journey just began there. So it started off as just a wee bit of exercise, and then it eventually led to my true love.
Aye, going into it. And then obviously from doing it yourself, PT side of things, to then launching GX Fitness, what was the kind of feeling behind that? Was it just something you always wanted to have your own space?
Never.
Or no?
Never, genuinely never. So when I got into the industry, I kind of fell into management. And when I say that, it was almost like I loved the idea of helping somebody just coming into the industry, you know, supporting them and challenging them and guiding them to get them to a place where they're confident and comfortable to either go into management themselves or go and do their own PT business. It was the idea of supporting somebody, taking them through that wee journey and then getting them to that place that I absolutely love. So when I was in Bannatyne, started off as fitness advisor, got promoted to senior after, I think it was 2 years. And then about a year later, I got the health and fitness manager job. And that for me was ideal because I get so much return, again, in looking after a team of fitness advisors. And then I took a crossover to Pure Gym, which is where I was assistant manager. And again, I just thought management was the thing for me. I always felt truly happy, truly content. And Pure Gym was an amazing company to work for. And then it wasn't until the pandemic hit that when I started doing stuff for me, that's when I truly felt real happiness. You know, I think we're all here to serve a purpose, and this, what I'm doing just now, I have never felt happier, never felt more content. I might be working harder, but what I'm getting in return for that is a million times more than any other job's ever given me in terms of a sense of achievement, I suppose.
Yeah. And was that hard? Obviously, you were in a position where you loved your job and you were happy what you were doing. Was that more difficult to make the jump to do it for yourself?
Yes. Because you've got your wage every month, like you've got the progression in your job, you've got a business that really looks after you. So I'll never forget last year in August when Nicola was going to make the announcement about the gyms opening, and obviously England's gyms had opened. I was sitting thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do here?
Right.
Because it was supposed to just be a couple of classes to keep me, my clients going, to keep people that I knew going. But I was like, do I go for it? Do I take the risk? And I was like, I've always been a big believer in taking risks, because I think I would have massively regretted it now, you know, looking back. But it was that whole, I remember sitting in the living room on the floor, and I was like, she said the gyms can open on the 28th of August or whenever it was. And I just got my phone out and sent an email to the HR and just handed my notice in, and that was it. It was fate as well, because I had X amount of holidays left, and those holidays took me up to my notice period. So actually, I handed in my notice in that day, and I didn't have to go back. Which, you know, it was kind of sad, because I did love Pure Gym, and I had such a great team. But at the end of the day, I done that for me, and I took that risk, and I've never looked back, to be honest. Never looked back.
Fair play. Yeah, I don't think I've just sat and sent that email away.
Honestly,
like.
But see, if I never did it in that moment, I wouldn't have done it. I'd have just went back to Pure Gym, and I would just been Team Pure Gym. Yeah, Team Pure Gym all the way.
Wow. You see, from Pure Gym, from Bannatyne's, of massive companies. What were the kind of main learnings that you took from both of them that you kind of use just now running your own place?
The biggest thing for Bannatyne's for me was customer service. So Bannatyne's, obviously, it's a premium price, so you pay a wee bit more, but in return the members expect a wee bit more. So in terms of how you behave, how you treat the members, how you treat the environment that you're in, just overall the whole service, and the service in Pure Gym was amazing as well. But I really learned that very quickly in there, in terms of, you know, standards, down to cleaning, literally down to cleaning. That's they're so anal about their cleaning. The service in there, and then when I took the crossover to Pure Gym, exactly the same there. Took what I learned in Bannatyne's and implemented that into Pure Gym. So I had a few, I worked in a couple of Pure Gyms, and everything that I learned in Bannatyne's I was able to translate into the Pure Gyms as well, which was pretty cool. And then doing my own thing, it's exactly the same, because I posted the other day on Instagram, people remember how you make them feel. They remember how you make them feel. 100%. And that's exactly what I do. I learned that very quickly in Bannatyne's. And then it's not till I grew up a wee bit, and James actually says to me a few years ago, people do remember how you make them feel. Yeah,
and I suppose as well in your industry, you're sometimes dealing with people that are feeling a bit down or feeling no brilliant about themselves, and that first impression when they go in and speak to whoever's going to be training them will be massive.
It's huge. And I say to people all the time, how you see me at 6:30 in the morning is how you see me at 6:30 at night. My morning crew in the gym just now, they come in with sleepy eyes, and I'm like, morning, how are you? So you ready to go? Ready to go? Because people feed off your energy. So if they come in the morning and you're just like, oh, good morning, you're on your phone and you look like you can't be bothered, you're going to get the same back. But if you're excited and you want to be there, and they can resonate with that, they're going to want to come back, number one. But number two, they're going to give you, you know, even if it's 5% more during that workout.
100%. And you're obviously specifically aimed at the female market and helping people feel better about themselves, but I suppose that the difference from you is you encourage that kind of social life aspect as well. Massive. Because people do need it. But what was the kind of, have you always had that kind of idea of you need to have both, or was it just something that's came to you with experience and kind of speaking to clients? And
so I would say it's probably, I think when you first came into the industry, you have an idea of, because you see so much, especially these days, you see so much on social media. And I think, you know, when you first come into the industry, you have seen so much, and you think there's, you know, things that you should and shouldn't do. And it's all an idea. And I think until you've experienced it, maybe for a year or two, until you've experienced different clients and you've heard different coaches' stories and you've been to different things, and I think that's when you can start to have your own ideas of what is right for your clients. Because I say to my clients, look, if you've got a good social life, I've got a good social life. So I'm not going to say to you, you can't do that and you don't do this and you don't do that, because if it doesn't work for you, you're not going to stick at your plan, or you're not going to do your journey or do what's asked of you. So I think just through experience for me, it has been, do you know what, actually people have lives, people have families and kids and relationships and, you know, stressful jobs. Not everybody can work as PT, so we can manage our days around about our meals and around about our training, because that is our job. But, you know, people sometimes, that's what we're talking about, you know, lorry drivers, people that work high stressful jobs might not have the same amount of time. So it's, I guess it's having the understanding that no, everybody's unique. That's basically it.
And I think that's, from my own experience, I've been going to gyms and like different things. I think that's the thing that I always struggled with, because see, when you're trying to combine your job and you've got to go to your PT session or the gym, and you automatically think, I need to just stop drinking, I need to stop going out, I need to stop doing this, and you can't maintain it. See, when I look back, I'm like, why would you do that for any length of time? Because you're miserable.
Yeah, I'm miserable.
And it's so hard to maintain. But do you find that you get some clients in and their minds kind of trained into that zone because of previous experiences that they've had?
They think that, honestly, and that's one of the biggest things that I say to people. It's, look at it, so the last year of being in restrictions, right? Nobody likes it. Nobody likes being told what to do. Nobody likes not being able to do what they love to do. It's the same in an exercise journey. It's the same when you're shifting your lifestyle, but you still should be able to enjoy the things that you enjoy. So if you want to go out and have a bottle of Buckfast at the weekend, or you want to go out and have a few gins, a couple of cocktails, have a Chinese, have a pizza, as long as you're not doing that every single night of the week, you know, who are we to dictate what people do in their lives? And I think that's a thing that a lot of people see. They literally come in and they go, I'm going to cut this out and I'm going to stop doing that, I'm going to do this, and it's like they've already in their mind, they've got 6 or 7 things that they're going, I'm going to cut out, and I'm like, no, let's cut that out, let's relax a wee bit, and let's just do 1 or 2 things at a time, break it down and take it easy, because otherwise they're setting themselves up for failure in my eyes.
Do you think that's one of the main causes of people kind of being unable to keep it going, because they've just built up so many things for themselves to stop, and it's just too much at one time?
And that's it, and I call it relapsing. It's literally relapsing. You get fed up of how you are, and then you want to make a change, and then you go in too heavy, you jump in head first, and then before you know it, 3 or 4 weeks down the line, and you're stressed and you don't want to train, and you're worried about your sessions, and then you literally relapse. You just go back to that person who you don't really want to be. It's exactly that.
It's such a vicious circle for people as well, and that's what I was going to ask you. Obviously just now, you know yourself, you can go on Instagram and the fitness industry is massive, and there's so many different people out there with so many different ways of doing things, different kind of fads like diets and different things. Does that like annoy you from the sense of seeing all these kind of fad things coming out and you're like, well, that isn't how that's not going to help somebody long term? So
I wouldn't say it annoys me, Gary. I would say I'm aware of it, but it's like if something that annoys me in social media, I'll unfollow it, because it doesn't deserve a place in my mind, in my eyes. And I would say the same to other people. If somebody annoys you, or you don't like a way that, you know, somebody else says something and it does annoy you to the point where you're like, God, I don't even want to see them. Just unfollow it, because it's no good for you to be seeing that every day on your phone. Every coach has a different idea, or a different opinion, or a different way of expressing things, and I think, you know, in our industry, like as I say, I'm massive on support. I think in our industry, a lot of people forget that we should support each other as well. Like every coach has a different value and a different belief, but because if I don't have the same idea or value as another coach, that doesn't mean I should disrespect them. I think I should respect them and respect their opinion. And I think in an industry an industry like ours, I think it's sometimes quite good to have different opinions, because that's where growth happens.
And from your own point of view, who was your inspirations kind of coming through your own journey in this industry to where you are now?
To be cheesy, probably my partner James. Genuinely, he always makes me think about the way I work and the way I speak and the way I am, and every day I'm just always trying to be better. This is so cheesy, but better than who I was yesterday, genuinely. But he is. So we were 8 years in December. So he met me when I was 23. So I was just a daft boy, literally just coming into the fitness industry. And for then until now, like, he's genuinely shaped me as a person in my mind, year in and year out, and supported everything that I've done. So he's been definitely the biggest inspiration in my journey.
And do you think having that support as well helps you when you were making your decision about going it alone and things like that you've got someone there who is kind of completely on board with you and how you're doing things?
Massively, because he's done it before as well. So he had his own business when I first met him. And then he went through the journey, he went to a few other places. So I think he could probably see it from my point of view and understand it a wee bit more and probably guide me a wee bit better, whereas your internal fear would sometimes want to hold you back and make big decisions, because it's always what if you fail. You know, and we've got that total fear of failure instilled in us, but you know, I now try and coach it to clients. I'm not a mindset coach or by any means anything like that, but I'm literally like, you know, that could go wrong, but it could also go right. But we're so conditioned to think about the wrongs or the failures before we think about the successes and what could actually go right.
Definitely a Scottish thing, that.
Isn't it? I know.
Every guest I speak to on here, I think it's like kind of pre-programmed thing that you don't kind of you like don't big yourself up too much. It's just
It literally is. It's true. It's like, oh, they're there. Like you don't need to do that just in case, because they worry for you, and then you worry for yourself, and then it ends up you worrying about just being a failure.
My gran always says to me, just stay under the radar. Stay under the radar. When you think about it, you're like, what does that mean?
My granda is exactly the same. So as I said, usually on a Wednesday morning I take him to the doctors, and he always says to me, so when I'm talking about I've got another kind of project in mind, and he's always like, no, just you make sure you know what you're doing first. Like, you make sure you know what you're doing before you go into anything else, son. No, he means totally well, but I'm like, Granda, don't doubt me, because that just makes me want to do better. He's sitting in my passenger seat trying to give me all this advice, and I'm like, I know, I've been doing this for well over a year now. Things are going pretty well. I'm going to wait another 6 months to make sure the gym's doing what I expect it to be doing. But it is just that whole, like, he worries that, and if it doesn't go wrong, what's next? It's not a big deal.
100%. I think it's that generation though of, if it doesn't work, everything just crashes down. There's like nothing there.
It doesn't. You just go into plan B.
Aye.
And you say, I tried it, it didn't work, fair enough, let's go into something else.
100%. 100%. And you join a list of guests that I've had who have crazily started a business during COVID and a pandemic, and there's such a rush for it, to be fair. But for taking COVID aside, what did you find were the main challenges for you to kind of start out on your own, for having that kind of security of your salary, etc., to go on it?
I genuinely think it's the mindset thing. I think it was just financial worries. How am I going to pay this? How am I going to pay that? What if I go quiet? Or what if, it's all the what ifs. It took me a long time to believe, even after I handed my notice in, I still had that worry about the financial. But I was like, what am I worried about? Things are going really, really well, and things have been going well, and I'm so grateful for it. But it was always that mindset thing of, what if it goes wrong? What if I don't make enough money? And but that was just a small thing in comparison to the contentment, the happiness, being your own boss. Like, there's no other. I've not had a feeling like this in my entire adult working life. Definitely just the financial kind of. Am I doing the right thing?
Aye. And I suppose that. I tend to get questions in from people who ask more about the logistics of somebody starting a business and what goes on behind it. So from your point of view, I know you're down at Morris Park, but how did you go about sourcing like a location and things like that? What were you looking for?
So I had in my mind what I wanted the studio to look like, and I knew what I wanted to do in terms of group exercise and the group training. I needed a nice big space, because I looked at 5 other places before I found the one in Morris Park. And it's funny because when I went into Morris Park, like the guy that owns it, Robert Morris, he gave us a 5-star tour. He literally showed us the full place, showed us a couple of different units, showed us smaller units, bigger units, and then the one that I'm in just now. And when I stepped into the one next door to me, it was perfect, but the only thing, there was a big pillar in the middle, and I was like, that won't be practical if I've got people moving about and things that I need to do. So he took me into the one right next door, which is the one I'm in just now, and the pillar was back, and it was perfect. Right. And I just get a funny feeling, and Robert went away to take a phone call, and James was with me, and I literally was like, this feels like mine, and I hadn't had that in the other places that I'd been in. Yeah. And I think it was just the whole experience. The location's amazing. It's just off the M74. But James was like, it's funny you say that. He says, because I sensed that. He says, as soon as we both walked in, I was like, I could see it. I could envision, like, the groups of people, me and they were my clients. It just had such a nice feel. And then I went away. I didn't make the decision then. And then I came back to see it maybe 5 days later. And by that point, I was like, no, this is mine. Yeah. I was like, get your lease out, Robert. I'm signing it now. Because if I don't do it, I won't do it. But yeah, it was the location and the size, and there was just something that clicked in me when I walked into that space. It was the first time that it happened to me. And I was like, no, this is mine. This is GX Fitness.
And what did you do with respect of? Did you have clients ready to come to you, or did you need to go out and kind of start trying to get people in?
So I was very lucky in terms of, again, the group exercise thing. It's always paid me back in respects of it's built my reputation very, very quickly, and going at it by myself last April, I think for the groups, because people talk and people post stuff on social media and they see everything. So I went for the classes as soon as we were allowed to. I was doing 1-to-1 Zoom PT, which was the craziest thing I've ever done. And then when we were allowed to, I had boot camp.
Right.
So I started the boot camp actually a year ago last month, and I started off with, we were restricted to 15 people. So just off the back of having the groups of people and working with groups of people, you always get people asking about personal training. So I already had a decent number of clientele that I was training just outdoors, as well as a one-to-one on Zoom. But I was lucky enough to have that group of people who have stayed with me for the full entire year. So when it got to opening the gym in October, obviously I couldn't do what I wanted to in terms of group training because of the restrictions. But I was able to filter in my clients in there and just take them in there. And it was I laugh back now because it was a dusty red floor, and we were using a pink mat and a slam ball, and that was literally it. The walls were grey, but it was getting cold. You know, my toes were like that when I was outside curling to the floor. But when I look back, it's good when you think about that whole journey. But I just filed all my clients in there, and then everything was ready for December. And I was like, yes, I'm going to be able to open this in January. And then Boxing Day came, we went into lockdown again. So that put my plans off. But again, I was lucky that I had a nice clientele that was able to keep me going. And I was able to keep them going in a nice space.
And even, I suppose, if you weren't in that headspace, that could knock people as well. If you get to that point, it's like everything you've planned, here's another lockdown, it's not going to happen. But were you still confident at that point because of the clients?
So it's funny you say that. I had a client this morning, 7:30 to 8:30, just after the classes. And as we were walking out, we had this, it's strange, we had this same discussion about that space. And I was telling her, you know, I was hoping to open in January, but obviously it was pushed back to July because of lockdown. But would my studio have been as successful if I opened it in January? And I just think probably wouldn't have been. You know, my first month was phenomenal in opening and getting members in. Would it have been successful in January? Would it have been successful last November when it was ready? Probably no. So I look at it as July was my first month. I had a fantastic first month. Really, really grateful for it. So that's what keeps me going. That sort of mindset. It's like it might not have been as good then. It opened when it was open because it was supposed to open in July, and that's it.
And what's the biggest thing you've learned about yourself in that year of opening and or planning to opening to having lockdown to where you are now?
God, that's a tricky one. The biggest thing I've learned about, I genuinely think I now realise that I actually never let anything get me down, ever. I'll just keep going and keep going and keep chipping away because I think the moment you end up in that headspace where you start to doubt, or you think, oh, that like people have the poor me mindset, I think, where they're like, oh, this always happens to me. You're like, it always happens to you because you believe it always happens to you. But something like a pandemic, I'd never in my life thought we would live a pandemic, but we were saying that in our 60s, like we survived the pandemic. But genuinely, I think when you start to get into that poor me mindset, that's when your life just totally shifts and you attract all the wrong things. But how can we control a virus? We can control how we react, but I think if you don't react in a positive manner or you've got a positive mindset, that's when things do genuinely go wrong for you.
And from your mind, for clients who are maybe looking for a PT or looking to start classes somewhere, what would you say to someone for maybe who's thinking about coming in and joining your class? What would GX be able to offer that person? So I always send them to the GX Instagram page because I've got a lot of content on there in terms of, because it's better for people to see. So number one, see what we actually do in there, and number two, see what people are saying. So I get some testimonials off members. I ask them a couple of questions and get them to answer it as honestly as they can, and then I put a picture up because it's, for me, GX is, I call it the GX fam. We're a nice big family, and that Instagram is not about me. That's about us as a community and a growing community, and they support each other. So I'll send them there, they see the videos, and the morning classes, honestly, I don't know if you've seen any of the stuff, but it's crazy. Like, they're all, in the first couple of weeks they were all screaming, and I genuinely, when I get to this, it's a sled or a prowler, people call it, and they're pushing, I'm literally like, shout their name, scream ball at them, abuse them, do what you need to do, because you'll need it when you get here as well. So I'll send them there, and then what I do is I'll always do voice notes, because I think when you get voice notes, it's just a nicer way to communicate with people who don't know you. Send them a couple of voice notes, get back and forward with them, ask them any questions, and then I'll jump on a call with them as well, just so they can get a feel for who I am. And then that way, when they come in, they're a wee bit warmer, and they're because it can be quite nervous going into a new environment where all these people seem like they're all besties. So I think when you get that connection with somebody, they're happy just to come in the door, and then they just go for it. And then before you know it, they've slotted themselves in and they're abusing the next person next to them. But that must be rewarding for you as well, because you're seeing people come in at the start of that journey and slot right in, and it then just kind of, as you say, as a family, it just grows.
Honestly, I still, like, genuinely, I know I've only been open for 5 weeks, but the how much they've grown, that they're so close knit, and you know, we've got a bit of banter going on. One of the girls had left sparkling water in the gym 2 weeks ago. We're now calling her Sparkles, because who brings sparkling water to the gym to exercise? So when she's on that prowler, everybody's like, come on, Sparkles. They call each other Melton John when they're sweating. Like, it's good to see, because it takes the pressure off me a wee bit, and it lets me go more intimate with the coaching. So if people are bonding and they're next to their pals as such, 2 meters apart, they're keeping their distance, they're having a bit of banter with each other, and they're pushing each other and making each other work a wee bit harder. And it means that for the new guys, I can be closer to them and support them, and you know, take them under my wing a wee bit until maybe week 2, when they're a wee bit more confident. And I'm like, right, good, you're moving better, you're looking good, and it's that nice wee journey.
It just keeps it going.
Aye.
A question that someone asked, and I'll put you on the spot with us. In fact, quite a few people had asked this, including James, and it's more around, obviously you'll get people who will may come at your classes, or they're doing exercise somewhere just now, and the exercise side of it's on point, but the eating side is all over the place. From your point of view, what advice would you give to someone in that position where they've got the exercise under control, but the food side they just can't seem to kind of master?
So I think it's just like I says at the start, you need to find what works for you and your lifestyle, because what works for the person next to you won't work for you. So figure out, so think about, like, say you do really like a pizza, right? Now James loves a pizza. I'm just going to put, since he's asking these questions, I'm just going to out you, James. James loves a pizza. If that is something that you enjoy, I think you need to maybe benchmark yourself. So say, for example, you're having 3 or 4 pizzas a week, which James doesn't have any more, just for the record. If you do love a pizza, maybe there's one day a week where you can say to yourself, hey, I'm going to have that pizza. And then if there's another takeaway or another unhealthy bit of food that you like, you could plan to have that another night. And then you've got 2 nights a week that you feel like you're almost rewarding yourself. I hate using that word, but it is like you've got those 2 nights, and then the rest of the week, if you aim to be at least 80% or thereabouts on your nutrition, that's the number one thing that I say to people that are just starting their journey. Have your favourite meals or your favourite takeaways once or twice a week, and then you still feel like you're getting that because you need it. And then the rest of the time, and then you can look at maybe switching the days about the next couple of weeks, so that it's not getting samey, it's not getting boring. And then do you look at taking your pizza out and swapping it for a Chinese? That's my favourite thing. It's just, it's got to work for you. So if you plan your week out, you look at your week across the 7 days, where are you going to have your favourite kind of unhealthy-ish foods? And
is the food just as vital as the exercise side of it?
The food is, for me, the food is definitely way more important, because your food's your fuel, which is a funny one. You're probably going to ask me some questions about that as well. I'd imagine people have asked about what I eat, but the food is your fuel. So if you're, a lot of the time people are like, oh, I've not been feeling too great recently, or I know people that are no well 7 or 8 times a year, right? And then because I know them so well, you know what their diet's like. If you're eating crap, I genuinely believe that that's when you start to feel crap, because that's the energy that your body's using to function, to breathe, to think, to talk. So if you're feeling a wee bit sluggish and your diet's rubbish, you should probably look at your diet and clean it up a wee bit. So the diet is definitely is more important than the exercise, because it's your energy. It literally is your energy.
And it's aptly into the next question, because there was at least a dozen questions coming, like asking what his food plan's like every week, and I think quite a lot of clients had threw that question in, so I'll hand it over to you, mate. So the reason for that, we've got a wee Facebook page that we've got in the go, and we share like things that we've done well in the day, or if we've struggled, or food pictures, or good training sessions or whatever, and I just innocently post what I'm eating in there, and I get slagged rotten, absolutely rotten, because James says that I eat for fuel. I eat macros, but he eats for taste. So that's when we sometimes clash heads. But most recently, I learned. Even Starbucks and Paul Madi was, when I go there, they ask me like, why am I eating that? So I had, what did I make again? I think I made bagels, beans, and tuna. That's a random taste combination.
See, I didn't think it was. And genuinely, when I put that in my Instagram story, it went mental. And I turned up to Starbucks drive-thru, and they were like, what was that you were eating? And I was like, I just look at it as protein and carbs. I mainly eat chicken sausages every morning for my breakfast. I have chicken sausages, a bagel and avocado. But again, I just look at that. The avocado's fats. I've got my protein and then my carbs again.
Yeah.
And I genuinely, I think that's how I get so much energy all the time, because I do eat. I mean, it's not always the nicest stuff. Sometimes it's like I was calling one of my clients in the page the beige police, because she says that one meal I put in there was dead beige. So now I sometimes put a wee bit of spinach on it so she can't see anything. But I eat the same kind of stuff every day, and then when it gets to the weekend, I know I can relax a wee bit because I've been on it kind of 85 to 90% most of the week. And if I have a bottle of wine or a bottle of Buckfast, which I don't really have that much anymore, but if I have a bottle of wine, bottle of gin, or I want to let loose a wee bit, then I can, and I can afford it. And then when it gets to Sunday, it doesn't leave me feeling rubbish, and it doesn't lead into Monday, because I've spent most of the week being on it. Yeah,
and somebody had asked that as well on the back of the diet thing, and what they were saying was, from a kind of, if you don't eat meat or anything like that, what are the kind of best things to be eating to try and make sure you're still getting the nutrients that you should be getting each week?
I know. I think that depends on what they are. So if they're not eating meats, there's a lot of alternatives. So I actually like the corn sausages. Yeah. It makes me laugh when I say this, but see the Linda McCartney burgers. Have you tried them?
No.
Try them.
Nice.
You can thank me later. Honestly, meat free. James, he doesn't eat chicken sausages, so I've been buying him the meat free sausages. Yeah. And it's dead cheap as well. So tasty. And I've tried them. Like the Linda McCartney burgers are amazing. Obviously meat free. And they're high in protein. So the corn and the meat free alternatives, I think you can get them for Tesco and you can get them for Lidl, will be your best bet. And then you're just looking at like your beans and your lentils, they're all quite high in protein as well, so that gets you that side of things, and it's dead nutritious as well, loads of energy for them.
I'm going to try them now.
Try them and thank me, genuinely.
The meatballs are nice. I've tried the meatballs.
They're lovely.
Meatballs are really nice.
But it's just, I don't know why, but Linda McCartney's name makes me laugh. Just internally, for some reason. I say to James, I'm going to get Linda McCartney burgers, and inside I go, hee hee. I'm like a 21-year-old lassie. Linda McCartney. It just makes me laugh.
Oh man. What was the other one? There was ones that like loads came in of. Somebody had also asked if you were to change one thing about the fitness industry, what would it be? That's a toughie. If I were to change one thing about the fitness industry, I would say the ego. I would genuinely, I think it's very ego driven in a lot of sense, where you see a lot of people are all about them and they're all about how they look and what they've achieved and how many clients they've got and how busy they are. It's like we're in this industry to help people and make people feel comfortable and, help them start on a journey. They might not be with you a very long time, but I think, for day 1 to, day 90, they should still get the same level of service. Yeah. It's, again, if I see people on Instagram that annoy me and they're ego driven, I just unfollow them, because I just think that's not what we're all about. And that's why a lot of people, females in particular, are scared to contact PTs or coaches, because they've seen that one, or they've heard that one ball bag of PT, excuse my French, and they think we're all like that, and we're no. We're genuinely no. So definitely, I would say the ego needs to be just ripped out, because it shouldn't be about that. We're here to help. Yeah. That's the main thing. A personal trainer, we're helping and supporting somebody. And do you find, from a social media point of view, does that kind of help or hinder you, in the sense of, from the female point of view, and I've got a young daughter as well, and it's that kind of whole, a lot of things that you see online are completely unrealistic and not natural, but you'll get people who will maybe think, if I go and exercise for a month or two, that'll be me. But does that hinder you, in the sense of people have that expectancy?
Aye. You find that quite a lot, and it is because the social media is so big these days. You find that people have this unrealistic expectation, but again, that's when it's our jobs as fitness professionals to set their expectations and make sure you set them at a level that isn't too low, but it also isn't too high. So you find the bar in the middle. Yeah. And then that way you can both agree to, because some people have came to me and they're like, if I'm with you for a couple of months, I maybe lose like 9 stone. Aye. I'm like, maybe, but let's break that down a wee bit and make it more realistic, because at the end of the day, I want them to feel successful. However far they get in that weight loss journey or that fat loss journey, I want them to feel successful and feel happy and feel that they've achieved something. Yeah.
Are they difficult conversations to have with people?
They used to be. Aye. So I wasn't, before, when I was in management, before I'd done all this, when I first came in, the conversations were pretty difficult, and sometimes I found myself shying away. But at the end of the day, it's my brand and it's my business. And I'm like, if I don't have the balls to say this, you know, I'm setting this client up for failure before they've even paid me any money. Yeah. So it's that saying to yourself, you know, and they appreciate it more. Yeah. See, if you're honest with them, and that's all I ask for in any relationship with clients, it's honesty and communication. So if you're no setting them up, you're setting them up for failure.
Yeah, I suppose, and it's that whole thing of, it's a reality check for some people. Like, as you said, like, I've spoke to people, even like pals of mine or people I know, and they're like, oh, I'm starting to exercise, I'm hoping to lose 2 stone in like a month, and I'm like, right. And I'm not in that industry, and you're sitting right away going,
you're thinking that's
really?
Again, that's a lot to do with, you see before and afters on social media, but people don't realise the level of work that the people have had to do for these before and afters. You know, it can take up to a year sometimes for some people, depending on their previous experiences or their jobs or their home life. You know, there's a bigger picture going on than just A and B.
Yeah. Do you think clients sometimes underestimate how hard that journey is?
All the time.
Aye.
I think all the time, and it's a funny one because I've had a couple of clients this week actually say they've had a wee dip, and I'm like, that's totally normal. Yeah. So you can't always be here. Yeah. Even I'm not always there. Yeah. But it's important to recognise that, you know, you might be going through your journey, feeling good, feeling great, motivation's high, you're seeing changes, but then you have a wee dip in your mood. Yeah. It's totally normal, as long as you don't let that mood dip, and then you just drop out, because that's it. You'll struggle to get back on.
Yeah. How do you pick people up at that stage? Because see, just from a personal point of view, I've found that when you hit a routine and you're in that zone and you're flying and you're doing your thing, but see if you maybe get a week where work's carnage and you don't get out as much as you wanted to, and you find it hard to kind of pick yourself up again, how do you get your clients back up to, maybe not the same level, but going back up that way?
Very, very gradually. So it's pulling it right back to basics. So it's like anything. Like if your daily work life can sometimes be a bit hectic, sometimes you can't be bothered exercising. Sometimes I can't be bothered exercising. But strip it right back to basics and look at maybe 2 or 3 things that you can do realistically for yourself that isn't going to put pressure on you. So maybe it is just planning. Say to yourself, right, if I have a conversation with you on a Monday, you've been feeling crappy, you've maybe splurged out of the weekend, had an extra bottle of wine, I'll have a phone call with a client on a Monday and just realign them a wee bit and just say to them, right, you know, you've had a stressful week, you've had a dodgy weekend, that's all right, like it's totally fine. Don't let that define your progress from here. Don't let it take you forward. Let's say from today, Monday, to Sunday, what's one thing that you can really focus on that's not going to put too much pressure and not going to take up too much time? Maybe it's getting out a walk for 20 minutes after work if you're working late, or maybe you look at, rather than trying to track your calories, maybe you look at just, you know, your 3 square meals and some snacks in between, portion control. Or do you look at putting in a wee bit of you time? Yeah. That's literally it. Yeah. And that then gives them that kind of, they've got tasks to do. It's not too much pressure, not having to worry about getting to the gym or doing their program or tracking their calories. They're literally just getting their steps in. Yeah. They're looking at what they're eating without having to put it into their phone, or they're relaxing. They're finding some time for them. Maybe it's 20 minutes, 3 nights a week. They've got a book, phone off, have social media.
Aye. Do you think those apps are good for kind of tracking like your meals and snacks and things like that?
They are. They're very good. I think especially at the start of anybody's journey, because a lot of people really underestimate what calories are in foods and what foods comprise of. And I think when they start to track stuff and they get consistent with it, they go, Jesus Christ, I have actually been eating a lot of food these past few years. But yeah, I think that they're a great tool to use, but they're not always a lot of people think that's what they need to do, but they don't. They can look at portion sizes. Yeah, it's one of the easiest ways. There's one in the what's it called? The Eat Well plate, I think it's called. You can get that on the government website. Yeah. It's very basic, but it's sometimes that's enough information for somebody to go, all right, that's the amount of carbs I need, that's the amount of fats I need, that's the amount of sugar. And generally, the amount of sugar they have is probably like this size. Yeah, but it needs to be like that size.
I never realised there was so many calories in milk.
Aye, like, and it generally comes to,
I know. I'm looking at it and I'm like, what?
Well, I had an eye-opening experience last year in lockdown. So start of lockdown, we all done it. I was drinking wine like it was going out of fashion. Aye. I thought it was Jesus. The first 3 weeks in lockdown, I think I was drinking 2 bottles of red wine a night. Oh. Now, I was starting to get a bit puffy around the old love handles, as us guys do. And I put it into my fitness pal, and I honestly was like, oh my God, pull that out. There was like, it was something crazy, like 150 grams of carbs in a bottle of it. Now I know there's obviously carbs in like a lot of things, but I genuinely was like, there's 100, I need to stop this. So I stopped drinking for about 3 weeks and let that flush out my system. But if you want to have a heart attack, scan your favourite drink into MyFitnessPal. But I genuinely was like, I think there's like 1,500 calories or something.
I couldn't believe it.
So that at night time, man. And I was like, why am I not sleeping?
As you said though, that goes back to that, you probably don't realise. No. Because I used to drink like maybe 2 litres of milk a week easily, and you're like, it's milk.
Well, you can't.
Honestly, mate. And then you scan it in, and you're like, fuck.
You do. And I don't know if it's that like I love wine, right? I'm not an alcoholic by any means, but I genuinely love wine. I just love it so much, and it's that whole. I don't know if I want to, because I don't want to be put off it that much. But that taught me. I'm like, do you know what? That's exactly what I would say. You know, if a client's drinking 3 weeks in a row, number one, I need to have a conversation with them to make sure they're all right. But number two, it is understanding what you're putting into your body, because it goes back to that whole what you're putting into your body is what you'll get out.
Yeah, 100%. While I dig your questions out, something that comes through a lot, and it's funnily enough with the fitness industry, because I think it is so massive right now. If you were to give advice to anybody who's maybe been in the position you were in and they're working in a gym or somewhere and they're not enjoying it and they want to go out on their own, what would you say to that person, kind of based on your own experiences?
So I think the biggest thing is to come into the industry as yourself. Mm-hmm. So social media has grown so much since I came into the industry, so you didn't see as much on social media in terms of fitness. Fitness has totally exploded. But be yourself and don't try and be, I guess, like a coach you followed for a while or a PT you followed for a while, and you know they've seen them, they've became successful and they've done what they do because they're good at it. Yeah. And that's why they've grown. Find your feet and always be true to you as a coach. Your values, your beliefs, always keep them close to you, because that's when people resonate and attract to you, and that's when they end up with a nice clientele, because the people around about you they're similar to you. They like who you are, but if you're trying to emulate what somebody else is doing, you know, it'll probably take you 6 months and you probably burn out because you're not being you. That's my biggest piece of advice for that.
Love that. I'm just actually, do you know, I'm scanning this and all I can see is baked beans and tuna.
See, I told you. Like, have you ever, so I always
think I could eat that.
A baked totty and tuna and beans, is that not a thing? I think that's where I got the idea
from. I've had beans, but I've never had tuna as well.
And I didn't realise hot tuna was like, so like people were so against hot tuna.
I don't know.
It's protein.
I mean, I'll try the burgers, but I think the tuna and beans is, I don't know if I could.
You never know. I say to people, don't knock it until you've tried it.
That's very true.
Don't knock it until you've tried it.
Someone has asked, and I think this is Lorna's one of your clients actually.
Is it G-Fit?
Yep. Do you think skills are important in somebody's fitness journey?
So it depends on their journey. It depends on, I guess, their overall goal. And it's important to know that weighing yourself every day isn't a reflection on the progress you're making. Yeah. It becomes too obsessive in my eyes. I think if you're making somebody step on the scales every day, their mental health is going to suffer long term. Yeah, because they become so caught up in, that's no changed, or I'm 0.3 down, or I'm 4 pounds up, and I need to be brutally honest. If I have a Zoom call with a potential new client and they talk about the scales, generally it comes to all the fad diets. I'm not going to mention any because I don't like doing things like that. But all the fad diets you see out they're weighing themselves every day, and I'm like that to them. You could weigh yourself on a Friday, right? Come back off the scales, go and do a big job, go back on the scales and you could be 5 pounds lighter. And that's exactly it. But I'm like, that's the reality of it. Like I think the best way to do it is if you're using scales and that's your goal, you really want to lose 2 stone, you don't care about anything else, take it every single day, but make sure that you remember you're painting a bigger picture than just what it says on this piece of metal. Take the average across the week, and as long as you can see that average lowering every week, every second week, every 4 weeks, however often you're going to mark it, as long as you see that going down, you're going in the right direction. But again, the scales, it's the variables. People think that dictates how far they've came in their journey. Whereas they might be feeling happier, they might be stronger. I've had people say to me they can go up the stairs without getting breathless. You know, that's a big thing. They're maybe walking to the shop and back with their messages. You know, there's a whole bigger lifestyle thing going on than just stepping on a piece of metal, because I don't know what you be. You're not walking down the street with 74 kilograms in your forehead. You don't know if you've got better fitting clothes on, or maybe you're into an outfit you've not been in 2 years. They're better ways of measuring how far you've came.
Yeah, and I think I've probably fell into that trap of, I used to weigh myself every Sunday.
But after the weekend as well, that's an interesting one.
see in hindsight, right, see when I look back on it, I always have a kind of shit food day on a Saturday. So it's the worst time probably to do it. And you get into that thing of, you could be out running every day and you can feel yourself getting fitter, but you look at the scales and they don't change and you think, fuck, this isn't working.
Puts you down, doesn't it?
Aye,
it totally puts you down.
And it then puts you into the space of, well, what's the point in doing this? Because I'm not losing any weight, but you feel fitter and people will say, oh, you lost weight, and you're like, no. But you've maybe just changed fat to muscle and you're not realising, but it is such a trap to fall into.
It's your overall body composition. So your weight is everything. It's like your lungs and your eyes and your brain, everything inside you, that's what that's measuring. Whereas if your body composition is changing, so your actual shape, that's what you should always go by. If people notice it, I think, but again, if people say, you're looking good, you've lost weight, you're like, but in the back of your mind, you automatically flick to that wee scale. 100%. And you let that dictate your mood, and that throws you off for the day.
I think it's because you'll hit your own body every day, and you don't notice the changes. Whereas if somebody's seen you for the first time in a few weeks, they'll be like, oh, fuck, you're looking brilliant, and you're like, it's like the same. But it's that kind of, it's probably back to that Scottish thing as well. You always go to the worst
critique.
Aye,
you're your own worst critique, and I tell you, it's no until. So I've got a client who's on week 5 with me, and she sent me her week 4 progress pictures last Friday, and I put them together for her. And I sent them over, and she couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe the change because she doesn't see it. It takes people, I would probably say at least 6 months before they start to say, do you know what? Actually, I'm looking all right. Like I'm feeling my waist again, or maybe it's a strange one, but I've got clients to say, God, I'm feeling under my armpits again, or I'm seeing my collarbone. But because we're our own worst critiques, they don't see that change unless you put a side by side picture and then you say, do you know what? Actually, I can see the small differences. It's the same outfit they're wearing, but it's a lot more baggy. And they're like, Jesus, like, I'm actually doing all right. I'm like, aye, of course you are. I'm on your side.
Exactly.
I'm your cheerleader.
Aye. No scales on a Sunday now.
No, put them in the bin. Put them in the bin.
I actually think about it, how bad is that? Sitting having like a Chinese night on a Saturday night and going, I'll weigh myself on Sunday morning, I'll be fine.
That is literally mental torture, isn't it?
Aye.
And it's a Sunday as well, so you're just about to go into a new week.
Aye. It's crazy.
Put them in the bin. I want a video on your social media. Put them in the bin. Right, Kenny, that's it. It's done.
Another one I'll put you on the spot with. A lot of people ask what's the kind of the big myths that you come across in the fitness industry, because you know yourself, you can read all this stuff and you're like, surely that isn't real for people to follow. But for you and speaking to clients and things, what are the kind of main ones that you tend to kind of...
The big myths. Like carbs will make you fat. Yeah. Carbs are bad. I think that's a huge picture that's been painted over the past couple of years, and it drives you mad because you see all these, the fitness influencers and all they talk about cutting out carbs, but at the end of the day, like, a carbohydrate is your body's first and main source of energy. Yeah. So if you're cutting its main source of energy out, you're not going to get as much energy. The output's going to be far less than what it would be having a balanced diet. Yeah. But that's probably my biggest bugbear is carbs make you fat, or you need to cut carbs out to lose weight, because you don't, again, it's that restrictive term. I hate using any restrictive term. You don't have to cut things out. You just need to manage it a wee bit better, because 9 times out of 10 people are just the diet is huge on carbs. Yeah. So we can access carbs so easily. So that's definitely out of the carbs. Aye. I love carbs.
Aye, same. And you see so many things like, no, you can't eat bread, you can't have too much pasta, you can't do this, you can't do that, and you're like, oh, what you may eat?
I know, and it becomes confusing. Aye. It genuinely becomes confusing, and I think that's where, for somebody that is, if they are just starting out, they need to look at what works for them. They need to look at their life and say, right, what's manageable for me? Because I couldn't cut carbs out. There's carbs in wine. Like, I could not cut that out. Absolutely not. That's my saving grace on a Friday. But no, that's definitely my biggest bugbear, the carbs.
I'll give you a deep, meaningful one now. Right, that somebody sent in.
Take a wee drink of
get us a wee drink first. A few people had asked, obviously, stage you're at just now, if you were to go back and speak to 16-year-old Kenny, what would you tell yourself based on what you know and what you've went through?
So that's like they must watch RuPaul's Drag Race, because that's a question they always ask on that at a drag show. So if I was to go back at 16, do you know, I was like, that's like, I think that's 10 years ago, but it's not, time's flown. It's like 15 years ago for me. What would I say to myself? Just to stick up for myself. Because a lot of the time back then it was easy. I was probably one of the tallest people in the school, so I was picked on quite a lot. But probably just to stick up for myself, and that, you know, I would end up quite a well-liked person, and generally, like, the bullies in school, eventually, you know, I'm friends with them, strange enough, but the people that actually were pains in the arses at school, that didn't like me for no apparent reason, I'm now friends with them. So I think that would be, if I was to speak to myself, I would say, fucking stick up for yourself, because you're some size.
Did you ever see the people that your pals knew about? Did you ever bring it up, like how you felt at that point?
But they bring it up occasionally, every so often, and I'm like, I'm 31, like I got over that probably 2 months after it happened. Like I'm from Poso, like Poso Park, if you're not from Glasgow, but I was thick-skinned, and I was brought up, if people said something, like, you know, either speak back to them or just ignore them or battle them, which I never done in school, which is why it always happened in school. But they bring it up sometimes, and they're like, God, like, how rubbish I was to you. And I'm like, I'm over that. Like, you know, we're adults. We've all got, you know, we've got families, blah, blah, blah. But I'm totally over it. Like, that's in the past. I think if you dwell in the past, again, that dictates who you are just now, and it becomes the poor me. It's like, that's, you know, that's who we were at 16. You know, we were stupid Wayne's boozing every weekend. So
100%. Question I ask everybody when they come on is if they know of anybody that they think would be a good fit for the journey. Obviously, when I interviewed James, he gave me your name, and it's a kind of circle goes round. But to be fair to him, it wasn't like it was just saying, oh, Kenny's my partner. He did go into the kind of full, how you've kind of done your own thing, you're passionate about your job, and you can see that when I'm taking you, like, you look absolutely buzzing to be doing your own thing. But is there anybody you know that would be good to come on and kind of share their story?
So there is. So I've started yoga, right? This is an interesting one. So it's actually one of mine and James's friends. Her name's Jacqueline, and she's called Jack's Yoga. She's got an interesting story in terms of how she got to where she is. So she's doing her own thing now as well. So she's opened a yoga studio in Morris Park, just 2 doors up for James. But she, through the whole pandemic, she was in a job. I'll not say too much, just in case you do decide to get her on. But she lost her job and stuff during the pandemic, and it kind of forced her to do something we've been telling her to do for a very long time. And looking back to where she was in terms of just during the redundancy and stuff to where she is now, she is like a different person. So I've been going to her yoga every single Tuesday, and she's called Jack's Yoga. We are double X, so Jack's Yoga. But her wee place, it's stunning. It's called Sankalpa, Glasgow. So I would say, if you want an interesting story, I would get Jack's on.
And see, just touching on that, do you think yoga is good to kind of complement the exercise that you're doing?
Massively. Before probably about 2 months ago, I was as stiff as this table here. But I started stretching and mobilising 20 minutes a day, and I felt a huge difference. And then when Jack's opened the studio, I was like, I'm going to go and try it. So I booked a 4-week pass, because I thought, I always say, if you try something new, give it 3 times before you say it's no for me. So I booked 4 weeks, and I've just finished. And honestly, last week she had my knees at my ears when I was lying on my back. No, I couldn't believe it. But it's good for, you're at less risk of injury, number one. And your strength is just totally different, because it's all holding poses and getting yourself into positions you never thought you could be in. Holding things for longer periods of time, whereas I think if you're just doing your weight training, your wee bit of stretching, it's not as beneficial as yoga, and plus it's good for your mind. You know, I was saying this to Jack yesterday, the breathing aspect for me, like I was short and sharp breath, but now I'm actually able to listen to her, which she's saying, plus focus on my breathing, and then that has given me so much peace in my mind, so much peace. So I definitely would say, if anybody's thinking about yoga, get a bash. Doesn't need to be Jack's, obviously, but definitely get a bash.
Love that. Last question. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Randomly, loads of people messaged in and West asking what his go-to song is when he's exercising. And I was like, that's a hard question.
It is a funny one, because I'm like, whatever this is whatever a 24-year-old lassie listens to, I probably listen to in terms of pop music. If I'm in the gym and it's just me training, I can put it on. It's amazing. I usually listen to Little Mix. I usually put Little Mix on. I'm jamming to Little Mix. Although a couple of weeks ago I tried Adele, and I loved it.
I don't know if Adele would get me up for it.
No, neither did I. And I put a poll on Instagram, funnily enough, and I was like, would you prefer Adele or GBX? And 80% voted Adele.
Wow.
I was like, you can come and train in my gym. But I don't know. I just love Little Mix's music. As strange as that sounds for a 31-year-old man, I enjoy the music.
I see. My daughter loves them, and I'm like, to put that on again. I'm like, number four on.
You kid on, you don't know them, but you're like, oh, shout out to my ex.
I'm absolutely buzzing, Kenny. It's been amazing, honestly. I'm in such a good mood now after talking to you. Like, I think it's so infectious the way you talk about your business now and what you're doing, and I can only imagine this is how your clients feel when you're talking to them each day, but it's been unbelievable, mate, honestly.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Superb, mate.
Thank you.
Brilliant.